Well, it's an interesting story. There was a time in my life when I was a goat. And then I decided, you know what? I think I'm a fish. And so I transitioned into a fish. And I struggle with this. Maybe you can help me. Sometimes I still feel the goat. I'm like, but I'm a fish. But I can't deny that part of me, I hate to say this, but part of me is still a goat.
Well, first, fish. You have said you are a fish. First, we celebrate this fish.
Yes.
We do celebrate this fish.
Party time.
Yes,
Woo-hoo,
yes.
woo-hoo.
It has said it is a fish.
Out. I want the world to know that
It
I'm
is
a
a
fish.
fish. Yes, yes, it is a fish. Yes. Remember this. Yes, even as you are doubting your very fish, you have said you are a fish and you know you are a fish. Yes, you are a fish. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And
But yes, you ponder the goat sometimes. You ponder the goat, yes, and this is unpleasant to you. Yes, you feel as though you are a goat.
Because at that point, I feel like I'm being disrespectful to the entire mantra of goat versus fish. A game can't end in a tie. When I played high school football, there was a saying that a tie is like kissing your sister. And that's just incestuous.
That is what a tie is when neither the goat nor fish do triumph. You do call it incestuous when neither the goat nor fish do triumph.
Well, this was in high school football.
Ah, yes, it is one of the ways that the goat and fish do verses. Yes, Goat versus Fish has been watching the moving visages of the ones and have seen the ones that they do call the football. Yes, many large goat and fish. Yes, they are trying to versus one another, trying to get past one another. Yes.
Yes.
It seems it is always on the land of the goat. It would seem difficult for a fish. Yes.
Well, there's the goat high school, and then there's the fish high school.
Ah,
and they
already
square
it
up.
was goat and fish, yes.
And it's a big rivalry. And you know, like when they're at the movie theater, and then the goats from the goat high school are wearing their goat high school varsity jackets.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would celebrate goat.
Yes, as would the fish. You know, if you're at a movie theater on a Saturday night, celebrating who you are, and you'd wear your varsity jacket.
Well, you do not have to worry, fish. You do not have to worry that goat versus fish will be displeased if sometimes you are pondering that once you were a goat, yes? This pondering is part of goat versus fish.
I just want to say what a relief it is that goat versus fish is not upset with me. Because it's like the game is still being played.
Oh, yes, it is still a versus.
It's an eternal game. It's like a high school football game and an endless overtime. And we have to find a winner.
Yes, yes.
So it's like every day I'm playing this game and I want to win for Team Fish.
Yes, you want victory for fish, victory for fish.
Yes.
We celebrate this fish.
We
How do you suppose you will
do.
triumph, fish? Tell goat versus fish. Goat versus fish will not tell the goat, yes. But there were many goat that were before you, yes? How will you use your knowledge of goat to triumph over the goat?
That's the kind of thing, it's just minute by minute, one moment at a time.
Ah, you take your verses one verses at a verses.
Yes, and it's almost like how once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. And so I feel that I wonder if I'm ever going to permanently win the game.
If the fish, yes, is feeling very, very triumphant, yes, feeling as if it can only triumph, yes, does it not seem that that is always when the goat does triumph over the fish, just when the fish is feeling like it cannot be triumphed over? Then along comes a goat, yes, then along comes a goat, yes.
That's very, that's a metaphor.
It is goat versus fish. It is goat versus fish.
Yes, yes, and I'm living that every single minute of every single day. But I gotta say, it's just like you gotta love the game. You know, I loved high school football, and I actually played high school football before I became a cheerleader.
And is that so?
What I've learned.
But you were a goat. You were a goat then.
Yes.
So they are a goat. Yes, goat. Yes.
I was a goat, and I was on the offensive line. That's where you put the goats.
That is the place of goats.
Fish do not make good linemen.
You are speaking of this versus. Yes, goat versus fish would like to learn more of that versus to see how the ones versus. Yes, but before this fish does not any longer speak to goat versus fish, though we shall speak again. Goat versus fish is sure of it. Yes, how would the ones communicate with this fish if they wish to speak to this fish or to find this fish?
I am swimming in the sea of Instagram, and you can bait your hook and find me at Melissa J Comedy.
It is Melissa J. Comedy, the fish. We celebrate this fish. Thank you,
Yes,
fish.
yes.
Thank you, fish.
And
it is Goat versus Fish now.
thank you for absolving me of my struggle and my guilt.
It comes from within you. It
Mm.
comes from within you, fish.
Mm-hmm. You're a wise man.
Goat versus Fish.
You are a wise goat versus fish.
Thank
and
you,
I thank
fish.
you.
Thank you, fish.
Thank you.
Always thanking Goat versus Fish. Very pleasant, this one.
Thanks, goat versus fish.
Thank you, yes. Thank you, yes. Ah, it is another one. Yes, we have a fish now. There have been 4 or perhaps 5 goat and then 1 fish. And now we have this one. Ah, Goat versus Fish may recognize this one. Goat versus Fish may recognize this one. Hello to this one. Hello to this one.
Holy man, what's happening?
Ah, it is a versus. It is a versus now. There have been many
Okay.
goat.
Right.
But there has also been a fish now, yes. It seems like the goat may triumph, for there is only 1 fish. But this fish has much knowledge of the goat because it says it was a goat. It used to be a goat, but now it is a fish.
Also, it lived a life as a goat, but now it's moved over to the fish side.
Yes, yes. And it is a strong fish.
Interesting.
It is confident, this fish.
Interesting, interesting. I would agree to a certain extent, but you can only stay in one lane. You cannot go from what was a goat, then how will you transform over to the fish? You have to. That's why you're a goat for a reason. You know, that's just my philosophy. I'm sorry, I'm a little different.
Well, what of the fish? Are the fish a fish for a reason, as you call it, as well?
Exactly, because the fish then covers the balance of whatever the goat offsets, because neither one is perfect.
It is a goat and it is a fish. A goat is all goat and a fish is all fish, yes?
Exactly, exactly. But one can't stand that complete lane because the goat won't know what the fish knows. It won't be able to do what the fish does.
Yes, one is a goat and one is a fish. One could not be a goat or a fish if it was a fish or a goat.
That is exactly true. At the same time, though, what is the purpose?
Are you goat or fish? Are you goat or
Exactly.
fish?
But the purpose, therefore, once you become either one, I prefer the goat. That's just me.
You are a goat, or do you simply prefer goat?
I prefer the goat. I'm moving down the ways of the goat. I'm moving down. I just feel that spirit. Doesn't mean I don't like the fish, though.
But you are a goat. You are a goat,
right?
yes?
I'm more of a goat, but I celebrate the fish because as a goat, I notice there's certain things that I possibly won't be able to achieve as a goat. So thus, you can get knowledge from the fish to enhance more of your goat, but you have to turn it into goat.
How has this goat? You are a goat, yes?
Yes, I am.
We celebrate this goat. We celebrate this goat. I goat for this goat. I goat for this goat. Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thinking
thank you,
goat
thank
versus
you.
fish. What have you learned from the fish? What have you learned from the fish?
Oh, sometimes as the fish, you have to go at it in the stream, so to speak. You have to move along with that stream as you were designed to do. Goat can't do that. You know why? Because a goat has many choices, but the fish just moves along with it.
But it has already chosen goat.
Yes, it has.
Yes, that is the choosing. Yes, but
That
you
is the
say there are
choosing.
choices for goat that are beyond choosing goat.
Because the goat has many abilities to do different things in different directions, as opposed to the fish, which the fish can do, but the fish has a method of doing it by going with the stream and the flow.
But you say that they do similar things, yes, but one in the way
Exactly.
of the goat and one in the way of the fish.
Prime example.
Yes.
The way to move as a goat when you are a goat, but the way to take some of the fish knowledge is that sometimes you just have to straighten up and go as the goat.
Yes, yes.
There's a stream behind you that you don't know. The fish is acclimated to that stream, though. The goat isn't, because the goat knows how to move in certain directions, in different directions, as well as straight ahead. Although the fish would know, if he looks at the goat, how he can thus incorporate his moves, and then which the fish does. But again, the fish has the stream, because the fish can go in any direction as long as the stream is with them.
That is the word of this goat. That is the word of this goat.
Amen.
Thank you, goat. Thank you for sharing your word with Goat versus Fish. If the ones wish to speak to you, yes, how would the ones communicate with this goat?
They can communicate with me on my Instagram page at Cliff_Keith247, and I will be more than happy to share any information, man. That's all I'm about, is helping people discover who they are.
Are you goat or are you fish? Thank you, goat.
Exactly,
Thank you for
brother.
speaking with Goat versus
No problem.
Fish.
Later, people. Ow! Ow! I'm gonna move.
Ah, what a pleasant goat, and a ponderous goat as well, yes. It sees much in the fish, it sees much in the fish. Look at this one, it comes another one to speak to GoatVsFish. Hello, yes.
Senor, how you doing, man?
You call goat, what do you call GoatVsFish?
Senor, like, just a dude, dude in Spanish.
You are speaking of the ones they have many ways to speak, yes? They have many ways to speak?
Many ways, yeah, there's, how many languages GoatVsFish?
GoatVsFish only speaks as GoatVsFish, but is asking, are you goat or fish?
Man, can you be a little of both, GoatVsFish?
Can you be a little of both, GoatVsFish? You can be a goat that feels like a fish, or a fish that feels like a goat. You can even be a fish that once was a goat, yes, as long as you now say you are a fish. Yes, but you say that you wish to be both goat and fish? No, you are either a goat or a fish. You are either a goat or a fish. This is GoatVsFish.
GoatVsFish, is there other universes?
Yes, GoatVsFish was just speaking to a fence sitter that chooses neither goat nor fish. GoatVsFish was trying to speak to that one to try to understand something that was not a goat or a fish. That is not a goat or a fish. Why does GoatVsFish even try to ponder it? But it was a pondering, yes. But perhaps you are speaking of something beyond GoatVsFish.
Have you heard of the Gish?
GoatVsFish has heard of it.
The Gish.
Many have claimed to be it, or the Foat. They say Gish and then they say Foat. Yes, these ones, they think they are so clever. They say this is GoatVsFish. But perhaps there is another place. Do you speak of another place that GoatVsFish could find other goat and fish?
Is there a goat, man, that has, like, fangs?
GoatVsFish has not spoken to a goat that has claimed it. But if you were a goat, and you did have the fangs, as you do call them, which would make them goat, then you could be that very goat.
GoatVsFish, I know what it is now. My mom was a fish. My dad was a goat.
Yes.
And I'm the offspring.
This is difficult for you to choose because of these ones. Yes, these ones that did help you when you were a small goat or fish. Is that why it has difficulty choosing goat or fish?
I became a mule.
They did say this to you? They did call you a mule that is not a goat or a fish?
A hybrid.
Why did these goat and fish say this to you? Why did these goat and fish say this to you?
Terrible goats and fish.
Unpleasant goat and fish. There are so many kinds of goat and fish.
From bad communities in the pond, and out in the fields.
GoatVsFish is understanding this one and why it sits on the fence. It must sit on the fence because there was a goat and a fish that were with this one that were unpleasant to this one. GoatVsFish would comfort this one, yes?
Thank you, GoatVsFish.
Ponder it. Simply ponder if you are goat or if you are fish, and when you are ready, yes? Or if you have questions, you can tell GoatVsFish, yes? At GoatVsFish, at GoatVsFish, yes? How do they speak with this one? How would they speak with this one, perhaps to help you to choose?
You guys can catch my decision on Roger Lopez Comedy on Instagram and Roger Lopez on Facebook. Look into my page in the next week and you'll see whether I have become a goat or a fish.
You have heard it from this one. Yes, you have heard it from this one. Thank you, one. It shall not be a fence sitter much longer. Yes, you have heard the promise of this one. Thank you, goat or fish. Thank you, goat or fish.
Thank you, goat.
Versus fish.
Versus fish.
Yes. Yes.
How you been?
What is it?
I said, how you been?
GoatVsFish has been pleasant, yes. Has been very pleasant, yes. Meeting so many ones this versus, yes. And spreading the word, yes. Spreading the word here and spreading the word there, yes. And many do follow GoatVsFish now. It is becoming more GoatVsFish, all of the verses. It pleases GoatVsFish.
Who grows more weed, goat or fish?
The weed of the sea? It would be fish, would it not, yes?
Ooh, weed of the land.
The grass of the land. You are just learning of GoatVsFish. We celebrate this one, yes. But come, there are more ones to speak to GoatVsFish.
Thank you, GoatVsFish. In a few days, you will have my decision.
You have heard it, ones who listen. Yes, you have heard it, ones who listen, yes. You have brought more for Goat vs. Fish, more to speak to Goat vs. Fish, more to speak to Goat vs. Fish.
Goat versus fish.
Yes, it is Goat vs. Fish.
How you doing, man?
Very pleasantly, very pleasantly. Yes, high verses, high verses. High verses.
High versus, man.
Yes, Goat vs. Fish. You are new to Goat vs. Fish.
I am new to Goat versus Fish.
Goat versus Fish is, I need you to like, subscribe, share, comment on all Goat vs. Fish platforms: YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram. Please find out what you are. It is very important to know whether you are a goat or you are a fish. It will change your life.